What's up, Nova Heads? It's Amber Nova.
This is Chris Lights Out Lytle.
Hi, this is Ray Boom Boom Mancini.
Ice Boogie.
It's the real and raw August Artois.
This is Smiling Sam Alvey.
It's Archimedes.
I'm Jack Cartwheel, the real deal, the human highlight reel.
This is Steve Mowry.
I'm Victor Henry.
Floyd Bulletproof Trooper.
Billy Stark.
It's ECW Original, The Enforcer, C.W. Anderson.
This is Honest John.
Hyper Street. I'm
Luis Moreno. And
it's Mr. Classic.
Anthony Noe.
I'm Jason Punet.
The young ghost.
Hey!
It's old Hattie Price here.
When I say what's my name, Snipes.
Richie Slade.
My name is Gino Rivera, the Frank Sinatra of the Spanish Mafia.
The incredible one, Anthony Idol.
This is Ken Shamrock.
The Golden Boy, Jordan Clearwater.
Yo, watch and listen.
Championship Online.
Podcast with this is Alex Mars here. Hi, Richard Modest.
So, please listen to it, otherwise be cursed. Okay, see you later. Love that, Dennis.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're now watching and listening to Championship Online Podcast, the news channel. My name is Alex. This is my co-host, Rich. And today is a very, very special episode here because we got and everyone says a legend in the house here because, he's a pro wrestler, but also the best manager in the game right now. You may have seen him in West Coast Wrestling Company, Penguin TV, House of Warriors, and so many more. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Enoch The Enlightened, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen? Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, no, man. Thank you so much for being on the pod. Such an honor to have you in the podcast. And before we start, Enoch, we have a fun segment we like to do. We ask 10 fun questions about yourself. Is that cool? We do it with you?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Take it away, Rich.
We'll start right away with question number 1. What is your favorite movie of all time?
Wow. I have so many favorite movies. I'd say it's a tie between The Departed, which is just an incredible movie with so many of my favorite actors in it, and then it's tied with Train to Busan, which is a movie that made me bawl like a tiny child. What an incredible story, and what a great ride. So those would be my 2.
Nice.
Awesome picks. With the next question, what is your favorite TV show of all time?
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Nice.
I love it. I love the humor. I think it's hilarious.
That show just never gets old. It's like almost timeless. Like people's like, it's still going. I'm like, yeah, it's not stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, I just listen to the podcast when I'm at the gym, and I'm just I can just listen to them talk about the weather, and I'm just so invested,
No, they're awesome. Cool. The next question, your favorite band or music artist?
Before, when I was a kid, it would be I would say I had 3 phases. So it was Radiohead, at my youngest age, all the way until I was 14, 15. Then it was Linkin Park, and it stayed with Linkin Park until maybe about 2 or 3 years ago. It became 21 Pilots. So
nice.
Yeah, so a little evolution there.
Very cool. What's your do you have a go-to song for Linkin Park or?
Oh man, obviously Crawling is such a big one, but I really like My December. I think that's such a passionate song, that was like a B-side,
Awesome. So. With the next question, do you have a favorite video game?
Ooh, I would say I'm just a big role-playing game guy, all the Final Fantasies. Nice. My favorite series of all time would be the Suikoden or Suikoden or however you pronounce it. I love those games, and they're being remastered, which is amazing, and put out next month in January on PS4, PS5, Switch. So if you guys haven't played it, you guys like RPGs, check it out, man. Support them so we get a part 6.
Yeah, we'll do for sure.
I've been waiting 20 years.
The next question, do you have a favorite sports team?
Oh, I'm not big into sports. I would say the only team that I really liked growing up was the Titans because I liked the movie, the Mighty Ducks because I liked the movie, and authentically the Kings because my dad would take me to Kings games all the time growing up. So I just remember just the contact, it would be a part of my life, seeing people get hit up close like that.
Nice. And that's true about hockey. Like people kind of like, oh, I'm not a fan of it, but you got to be there live, and it's like a total different experience.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like golf or baseball where you're like, you got to be there live. It's better, and it's like it's still kind of boring. No, hockey is live. You're sitting against the glass, man. It's just there's nothing like it.
Yeah, totally agree. Oh, so with the next question, do you have a favorite meal?
Oh, let's see. I'd say since I became vegan, it's been a little hard to eat my favorite meal because it was wings, and there's no rep that. So, it'd be really hard to say what my favorite meal. Probably like something with like pasta. I remember growing up, my grandma like would make me this big ass plate of pasta with like just like cheese and all kinds of like meat and stuff in it when I was a kid. So I still like to eat stuff like that, except with like vegan cheese or like eggplant sausages or whatever. So
nice.
Still holds up.
Oh yeah, pasta. Yeah, pasta. You can never go wrong with that.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is Alex's favorite question. If you're at 7-Eleven, which 5 items are you grabbing?
Oh, dang. See, I don't even eat anything at 7-Eleven. I'm enlightened now, and so I stay away from processed foods. So I'd say I'd grab one thing and it'd be an energy drink. And if I'm grabbing other things, it's toys for my son. I saw something that he thought was cute and he's like, Dad. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you have 5,000. Sure, I'll get you that. Whatever stuffed toy,
Nice. Especially there, like there's everywhere, like in a counter, there's Funkos and little plush figures.
It's like GameStop. Like you didn't used to see all the merch, and now you go in GameStop, it's like 50% merch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. With the next question, outside of wrestling, do you have a hobby you like to do?
Yeah, I've been in a reggae band, different reggae bands since I was like 20 years old. So about 15 years doing music. I was a roadie for my dad's band. My dad was in a reggae band, so I just kind of grew up around that scene. And now I'm taking stand-up comedy lessons from this guy. His name's Bobby Logan. He made this movie called Repossessed, and it's like a spoof on The Exorcist that came out like in the 80s. So he's like a really famous, like not like super famous, but for his stand-up comedy and for his comedy stuff, like, yeah. So I'm excited to see how that goes. I want to do some stand-up comedy and see what I can do from that and how I can attribute that to my wrestling. Everything kind of flows in and out of each other. Like everything you do, like I teach drama, and I've gotten so much better at wrestling from teaching drama to a bunch of kids, because now it's like I can just act silly in front of them because we want them to get out of their shells, right? It took me like 30 years away. So if they can do it when they're 10, then they've already beaten 90% of the people out there that are boring. They don't know how to carry a conversation or don't know how to like have fun, which is kind of a lost art, is not being so, I don't know, in your own head all the time.
No, it's true. Alex and I, we're big fans of like Joe Rogan, and even he says like it's kind of a lost art, like just the art of like communicating and getting out there. It's kind of getting away from that. It's just very true.
Yeah.
With the next question, before going to the ring, do you have a ritual you like to do?
Before when I would wrestle, I usually would just say a prayer. If I'm incredibly nervous and I'm with people that I love, like I got into the habit when I used to be with the Young Bucks company, High Risk Wrestling. Before every show, we would all get together and do like a big prayer with everybody in the back. And it's just kind of like, even the people that weren't religious would just like nod their head and be like, out of respect, it's like 90% of the people are there. You're not gonna be the one person that's like, dude, maybe now if we had run that company now, someone might be like, hey guys, can you not pray in front of me. Can you guys pray over there? You know, like, I don't know. Who knows? I mean, but that's pretty much it. Yeah. If I'm really nervous, that's something that I do. And then as a manager, I just like to go over what my guy's doing. That way I make sure that when I'm out there, if he forgets, because nothing's worse than him looking at me and being like, what am I supposed to do next? And I'm like, I have no idea. Like, good luck. You know, like, you better figure it out, you know?
Right. That's awesome. I love that, like you said, you know, kind of helps ease, you know, the stress, nice, you know, prayer before it and just getting your thoughts together. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not like a super religious person, but I mean, I've got my own little relationship with God that's of my own thing, you know?
Nice.
So.
The next question, last but not least, is one of my favorite questions. If you could have a match with someone who isn't a wrestler, who would it be? It could be a fictional character, an athlete, a celebrity.
Oh, man. Leonardo DiCaprio.
Ooh,
shoot, nice.
Because he would make it the best match in the history of professional wrestling. He would tell like story. He'd be so down for the physical parts. You know, it would just be a complete package. Like, yeah, that guy would never need wrestling training because he would just do what needs to be done to make it look as realistic as possible. You know, he gets it. I mean, that it's just getting it is so vital, and people just wrestle forever and still don't get it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. Like, I can picture just telling him like, be a wrestler, and he'll just snap into that mode and be like,
look at Zac Efron. That dude's all like shredded out.
It's ridiculous how they transform their bodies. Alex was showing me a picture yesterday. I'm like, from like 6 months ago, it's like a completely different person. His physique is insane.
Oh yeah, the bloat is insane. Like, bro, you're so buff. You got a belly, like,
right?
Awesome. Well, again, dude, thank you so much again for being on the pod, man. Very happy that you're here. But, you know, first, you know, I want to start off, you know, the beginning of your career. So, like, how did you first kind of get introduced to professional wrestling? Like, when did that happen for the first time?
So, like, my dad was never into professional wrestling. My dad would just kind of let me watch stuff on TV while he'd work during the day. And that there was a show, something WMCA Masters or something like that. I can never remember the name. It's the Concussions for sure. It just kind of slips away. But that show I'd watch, and it would lead right into WCW or WWF. I don't really remember, but I would just kind of watch it all. I couldn't tell the difference. Like, Sting was on one and the Undertaker was on one, but I didn't know that they were different things. You know, I would just kind of watch it. So I got really into it. And then when I was like 14, I was in, my neighbor was like, we should just do some like backyard wrestling stuff or front yard wrestling stuff, like for fun. You know, we all watch wrestling together. So it was me and like all my childhood friends. We just went in the front yard and we just wrestled each other. We all had gimmicks. Like, I remember cutting a promo. Like, I wanted to be like Raven, but I wanted to wear a mask. And I think my name was Youth Suicide. That was my Lincoln Park phase. So I thought that was cool. Right. And so that's how I kind of started. And then I went to a show. Oh, actually, I went to Unforgiven 2004, 2003, something like that. It was like Chris Benoit versus Kurt Angle. And the match was like phenomenal. And the people next to us were like super wrestling fans. So we just chatted it up with them. And they were like, hey, we do our own backyard company. And we were like, no way, we're trying to do this stuff. And they were like, yeah, we run in Temple City. And my dad and lived in El Monte at the time. So that's like 10 minutes away. And like literally they were like 3 blocks from my dad's house. So it was like a sign. So I went over there. I remember wrestling with them. I remember my cousin was there. And I ended up getting hit in the head with a steel chair and all this stuff. Like, I know it was nuts. And so then those guys, they were like, hey, there's this wrestling show in Anaheim. It's WPW, World Power Wrestling. And we're going to go check it out. So I went down there, I checked it out. And the main event was Aaron Aguilera, Hardcore Kid, versus I want to say it was like B-Boy or somebody like that, but I can't really remember who it was. Maybe it was like Chaos or something, Joey Chaos. They were wrestling, and Aaron Aguilera gets whipped into the guardrail, and I'm sitting on the guardrail like this, like with my hands like that. And they hit me, and I fall on the floor, and everybody's like, and I like nip up to my feet, and everybody starts clapping like, woo. And I like got this rush. And after the show, the Martin Marin, who's like the runner of like the owner of the place, the promotion, the school, he comes up, he's like, hey, you want to be a pro wrestler? And I was like, yeah. And that was just it. And started training. I didn't do it the right way because I trained for 3 months, and there was a guy that was a little older than me, and he would help me. And he's like, don't worry, we could just go through me. I'll let you know when you're ready. And I didn't go through my trainer. And the trainer was like, hey, if you buy gear from me, I'll just let you start wrestling. So I bought the gear and I just started wrestling, and I was not ready. I was wrestling all the time, and I was just doing moves for no reason. Like, it didn't make any sense. And I don't know if I ever really got that much better at that before like vegan Superman phase, which happened a decade later. But I mean, I was just really passionate, and I got a lot early, which was like WSX, working with Jack Evans, winning titles, all this stuff. And, when you're young, that kind of goes to your head. So there's a lot of stuff about the early part of my career I wish I had done better, because now I don't know if it's the concussions or if it's the fact that I grew up and I'm matured, but I understand wrestling so much more, where if I were to wrestle, like, I get so much more out of just doing less, right? Like instead of doing the indie stuff where you're reeling back and you're doing the Stone Cold Steve Austin, because everybody wants to be Stone Cold Steve Austin in The Rock, where you're standing face to face, and then everybody goes, hoo, 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 like 50 punches to the face, right? Like, it's just, you're going to tire yourself out. You're doing a bunch of extra stuff. What I do now is just one, bam, really nice punch, and that's something that's just, people don't really do anymore. They don't take their time. People are like, Randy Orton is boring, but Randy Orton wrestled for how long without anything really going wrong? I mean, look at The Miz.
Yeah.
Like the Miz is like immortal. Like, that's because he doesn't take Canadian destroyers 5 times a match,
Oh
So,
yeah. And what advice would you give to someone that's starting out their career in wrestling? What advice would you give to someone that's starting?
Like, before I would have given something completely different, and now it's get a character, know who you are, because people spend their entire lives trying to find out who they are. And sometimes when they find that, it's too late. You have to find that in the beginning. And more importantly, people in wrestling will judge you based on who they see first. So if you go out there and you give them this idea of you, that idea will follow you for the rest of your life. I just went to Vegas, and I have not wrestled as Markus Riot since I was 22 years old. And I walked into the venue, and 5 people called me Marcus. That I didn't know, that they were like, hey, I watched your stuff on WSX. I watched your stuff here. You were one of the first indie wrestlers that I watched. And I hadn't used the name Marcus in 13 years. And that's how they know me. So, I've changed 1,000 times in between being 22 and 35, so, but you have to do something pretty drastic in order for people to change their perspective and what they think of you. You fit in this little box, and you're going to be in there until you do something to take yourself out. And a lot of people never do that,
Yeah, of course. And speaking of with Markus Riot, we know you as Markus Riot because when we were little kids, we saw you wrestle as Markus Riot, and we used to see you all the time at EWF. And we watching you every Friday at Knights Columbus, just watching you tear it up. And one of our favorite things watching you was the rivalry you had with Ryan Taylor.
Oh yeah.
And because I remember I believe you were a 2-time cruiserweight champion for EWF.
Yep.
And having that rivalry, watching every week between you guys playing the matches. Take me back to that. What was it like having that rivalry and, being cruiserweight champion?
Oh, that was just the rivalry with Ryan Taylor was great because it was like a clash of styles, but it worked because he was like the typical wrestler that could high fly, and I was the high flyer who could wrestle. So like we brought the better sides out of each other in those matches, and it helped me kind of stand out from the pack of just people that were, I don't know, people weren't really doing high spots back then. Like I feel like we were like some of the first people, like the B-boy, like Cholo, myself, Ryan Taylor, you know, Scorpio Sky, like that now they do that style, but now they do it like balls to the wall, like crazy next level. I remember doing moves and Adam Pearce coming up and being like, why did you do a reverse Rana into a code red? Like that doesn't make any sense. And now that would be like an opening spot or a cutoff or something, you know, like, so it's just, this wrestling just evolves. So, I think that me winning the cruiserweight title was it was like I had made it, because wrestling is popularity contest. You know, there's people that are really popular that are the cool kids. And if you make it with them, you've kind of made it. Where you can go to other companies and get titles, and it's kind of like, okay, but they might have given it to this guy. They might have given it to this guy. But when you go to a place like EWF and they give you a title, and they were originally like, we're not going to give this guy anything because he wears a shirt when he wrestles. He does too many flips. Hey, buddy, how about this time? How about you do like one move off the top rope? Come on. And I'd get, you know, ridiculed and stuff like that because I do too much. And for them to put that title on me was like, okay, kid, we see something in you. You know, Adam Pearce took me out and we went to Denny's and he bought me lunch. He bought me dinner. Was like, dude, kid, you did a good job. You know, like that meant a lot. You know, I don't look at those people. Look at Ryan Taylor, where he's at. Look at Adam Pearce. So it's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I remember at that time, you know, because you were wrestling there, Ryan Taylor, like you said, Scorpio Sky, you know, you Bucks wrestle there. So like just from that place, it produced a lot of great wrestlers. And just watching you, you know, doing, because I remember we watched you and we watched other matches, but you were doing like the different stuff, and that's when we became like really big fans. I'm like, oh man, like stuff you're putting out there is amazing, and the rivalry between you with Ryan Taylor. And tell me about, you know, was that always the goal was to have that style starting out? Was like, oh, I'm gonna be this kind of like high flyer, and you know, was that always a goal? Or was it kind of like just to be well rounded and do different styles?
See, Jeff Hardy was my favorite wrestler for like a long time, so that's who I wanted to be. You know, and then it became AJ Styles, you know, and then it went on to be Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle's my favorite wrestler of all time. So I wish I had wrestled more like Kurt Angle and less like Jeff Hardy, because if you don't understand why matches like AJ Styles versus, you know, Kurt Angle, or Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle, or Eddie Guerrero versus, you know, Angle, or did Eddie ever wrestle Shawn? No, huh? That would have been amazing.
No, that would have been awesome,
that would have been fantastic. But you know, like when people watch those, they're like, oh, okay, cool. Well, Eddie did a power bomb in the heat, so I can do power bombs whenever I want. And it's like, no, like it made sense. Like it made sense in the story of the match. Like they built it up in a certain way that the psychology was there. And that's what a lot of people are missing. And that's what I was missing. And now, man, if I had a 20-year-old body, you know, it would just be completely different, because I get it. And that's what woke means. I mean, they give it such a negative connotation, like, oh, I just woke up and now I see the world is terrible. Like, no, it's like, no, I just woke up and I just see, holy crap, like I should have been doing this the whole time. Like I should have just been focusing on character, because people don't give a crap what you do in the ring, what moves you do. It's not how you do it or what you do, it's how you make them feel. People are going to remember that the bad guy was defeated by the good guy, and that guy was just a real asshole, you know, like that guy was a real asshole. And the whole basis of heels is that like someone had told me, I can't remember, it was like an old school wrestler, was like, just imagine that there's somebody in the front row and they're like, they have so much anger in their heart and they're at this wrestling show just to get that out, you know, and you're there, and maybe they might go home, or they might have gone home and, you know, yelled at their wife or beat their wife or something. But instead, for that night, they're taking all that anger out on you. So they're like, taking it out on you. And now they go home and they're like, that was a good night. I'm a cool, like I did the good job. Fuck that bad guy. Like I told him and I made him look stupid. And now I can go to bed. And now he's not a dick. Now he just goes home and goes to bed because he got that out of his system, you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I ramble.
No, I love it. And you know, especially with, you know, your career. Oh, am I frozen?
There you go.
You're good.
Okay, cool. But you know, especially with your career, what you've done, you know, like I mentioned, with things with EWF and other promotions, but also one thing I want to talk about. So you were a part of MTV's Wrestling Society X. So I want to talk about that. Like, take me back. How did that first kind of start you wrestling for them? Like, how did that get started?
So I had already had a little rivalry with Jack. We had done a match for Epit at the Enoki Dojo, and then
oh, okay. Oh shoot,
we'll come back. Let's wait a second.
There we go. He was a big manager at the time, and he had called me up and he was like, "Hey, Jarrell, do you want to wrestle on MTV?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like obviously, you know, like you want to wrestle Jack Evans on MTV? Yeah, of course." So that was like initially what they had me down for, and I just went and packed my bag and stayed with Jack the whole week, and because I didn't want to miss out. You know, you get to live for a week with X-Pac and Colt Cabana and, you know, Matt Cross, M-Dog 20, Ruckus, like Seth Rollins before he was Seth Rollins, you know, like all these people, the knowledge is just next level. And so it was such an awesome experience just living there with them. And I had so many opportunities where like X-Pac wouldn't show up. Like we're there.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I almost wrestled Human Tornado and I almost wrestled Scorpio Sky on a back-to-back days because I was there and they're like, "Oh, Jarrell's here. We don't know where X-Pac is, and we're just gonna have to put you out." And I remember like calling the whole matches with both of them both times, and right when we're about to go out, X-Pac shows up like last minute. One of the matches where he wrestled Tornado, he wrestled in his street clothes. You can look that up, and he's in jeans, like his regular clothes. He just walked into got to the venue, was like, "Sorry, kid, I'm gonna, you know, I need the rub, you know." I'm
Wow.
So then he just goes into the ring and just wrestles in his street clothes. I was like, "Damn, dude, like that's respect though, like that, you know, no matter what, he's gonna wrestle, even if he's late." He's like, "We're pounding on the door and X-Pac's not answering. We might be dead." You know, like, you're like, I don't know. I guess I'll have to wrestle, you know, like, so, I mean, it was cool. It was a really great experience. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And going and wrestling for them, did you think like Wrestling Society X had a chance, you know, competition with WWE and TNA at the time? Did you believe like this has potential to be something?
I think it did. I think it came in the wrong time. I think it was, I don't know. If everything had happened 10 years later, I think we were too early, you know, like I think all of us were. I think the Bucks would have been more successful earlier. I think, you know, Sky would have been a bigger name earlier. I think a lot of these guys, Willie Mack, would have broken out earlier, but the fact that there was nothing here, it was a dead space except for PWG, which is the best friends club. And if you're not best friends with Super Dragon and you're not like a big name, you're not going to get booked in PWG. I mean, that's how it was before. And now it's even more so. Like they don't use any SoCal guys on those shows. So the only thing that's saving us now are things like GCW and Prestige and all these companies that are showing up from the East Coast that are giving guys like a chance, like Versus Pro, like that are giving guys like Jordan, God, what is his name? The Jordan Cruz, you know, guys like Jordan Cruz that are helping him break out, you know, like DKC got picked up by New Japan. Like it's definitely like you have like 10 people in the last 5 years, where in the last 15 to 20 years, you may have had 5 people break out, you know? So like, it's just such a different time. And with social media, like Wrestling with Unicorns, all that stuff, like, man, dude, you can get like my clip of me doing my neck breaker went viral. They had like 20,000 views in like 2 days. I mean, and I had that's the most exposure except for WSX I've had since I was 18. And that was from social media. It's just like, it's just a different world.
Oh yeah. And especially too, you hear all these things, like all these was going on with Society X, like, there was in talks of like pay-per-views and house shows in the second season. How much did you hear about like the future was going on with Society X?
Well, I knew that I was supposed to go on and like have a feud with Matt Seidel, and that's what they were telling me over Lizzie Valentine. That was the whole like concept that we were going to go to, and that would have been awesome. Like, I love Matt Seidel. Like, he's a great dude, and it would have been great to wrestle him. Like, I remember Scorpio Sky and Matt Seidel had to have a match, and the people from MTV didn't want to just throw them out there. And they needed a match to show everyone so they would know where the cameras would be. It's the first day. All of us are there. We're standing and we're watching. And like, there's no crowd. It's just us, 20, 30 executives, wrestlers, all kinds of stuff. And Scorpio Sky and Matt Seidel have this 5-star banger in front of just the boys that ends with like a Spanish Fly. But he hooks underneath the arms and does like a backflip into like a belly to belly. So he lands on him. And it was like nuts. Like, all of us are giving him a standing ovation. And this is just a match that they did in front of us. Like, like the caliber of athletes that they are. I mean, it's just such a shame that it took Sky, 12 years after that to get onto TV, because he's my favorite Southern California wrestler of all time. Like, when he wore the mask and he was from City of Angels, like, I was such a mark. Like, this, I was like, I can't believe this guy's my friend,
Oh yeah,
so,
of course, man. We definitely agree. Yeah, Scorpion was, just the fact that now where he's at right now, we're just super happy for him, because he deserves everything that the success for Scorpio.
Yeah.
But and especially when you found out that Society X was canceled, did you kind of expect that was going to happen? Was it a big surprise for you, or did you kind of knew it was going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really remember how I felt. I think I was just on cloud 9, and I don't think I really thought about it either way. Maybe I was a little disappointed. I remember my favorite memory from WSX was meeting Donald Faison. I was a huge fan of Scrubs, and he was there at the show, and he was just hanging out, and I was like, oh my god, like, it's Donald it's freaking Turk. And like, so I'm like chatting it up with them, and I'm all like in this oversized, like, I'm trying to be black clothes too, and I'm just like, what's up, Donald Faison, like, like, stick around for my match, like, he's not even watching anybody else's match. And I distinctly remember he was like, all right, man, I'm gonna check out your match. And I was like, okay, he probably won't. And I remember in the ring looking out and seeing him peeking his head from the doorway watching my match. And like, I was like, dude, this guy's like one of the coolest people I've met. And they say don't meet your heroes, but I've been so lucky to meet so many heroes that were like good people. And that's kind of unheard of, especially in wrestling. I mean, obviously there's the bad ones too, or the people that are good and turn out to be bad, like Teddy Hart, because I had no idea he was that level of bad. I mean, that dude spent the night at my house. Like, like he was, my son was in the other room. Like I never saw that side of him. So it's just so weird how people can just be somebody else. Like, you never really know.
Yeah, that's true. And especially, with the locker room they had, was there any time that, like, you asked for advice or any conversations you had with the locker room they had at Society X?
Nothing that I can remember specifically. I remember talking to X-Pac a lot. I was like his little like weed runner at the time. Like, he'd be like, "Get me weed, kid," and like send me off to go like partake with the hoodlums and like bring back weed from them. Yeah. So I mean, that's pretty much it. I remember guys like Vampiro were super cool and very open to talk to. Ruckus was always very cool. Matt Cross. The only person that was really hard to talk to was Seth Rollins, Tyler Black. He was very standoffish. We're the same age, and he probably just did not want anything to do with me. He was like this other kid, and Seth Rollins is 6'4", ripped, looks like a movie star. And I'm over here like 18 years old, like all wearing baggy clothes, thinking I'm black and trying to put myself on the same level as Tyler Black, like we're standing out there, everybody else is in the bar and we're 20, like, so, like, and he was just like not even talking to me. So, but yeah, I mean, it was a great experience overall. Everybody was really nice. Everybody was really, positive. It's just a bummer. Like, we definitely have the legs to be successful with the music acts. I mean, it'd be perfect in this day. It's meme appropriate. It's fast. It's high paced. It's 30 minutes with a band and multiple, 2 or 3 matches. Like ADHD entertainment at its finest.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because it was at the time, being fans, it was something different. It was alternative to TNA and WWE. Like you said, there was like music acts, like the 3-6 Mafia who performed on the show. So seeing that and seeing wrestling was totally different. It was, like I said, it was fun while it lasted, which sucked. But yeah, it was very, very fun watching it. And when you look back in your career, when you look back in your wrestling career, what's been the highlight? Favorite moment, favorite match in your wrestling career?
So there's 2 that I can think of. One is at the beginning and one is at the end, and it's myself versus Jack Evans when so I wrestled him in Noki Dojo. He beat me. I wrestled him on WSX. He kicked me in the balls. Then he beat me. And then I wrestled him at Epic for the championship, and I beat him fair and square with my finishing ring in front of a bunch of people that were cheering me instead of him. And that was just like my big moment. And that's when my career really started to kind of take off before it kind of like stopped abruptly. And I couldn't really tell you at what point it stopped, but I mean, we're all our own worst enemy and to certain extents. And I'm pretty sure it went to my head, and maybe I canceled a couple bookings or something. I don't really remember. Once again, concussions. So, and then I was going to say, I am starting, I'm starting one company that I'm going to be booking for and running a lot of stuff. And with that company, it's going to be a wrestling school. It's called Valley Wrestling Connection. It's out here in Murrieta, California. And it's pretty cool. We got a show on February 11th. That's our debut show. It's called Valentine's Crush. It's very family themed. That's what my boss, he's actually my shoot boss from where I work as an instructor. I work teaching kids how to make like video games and like doing science experiments at like home schools. But then we also partner with Drama Kids, which is where I got the job doing drama. So now he gave me all those opportunities and was like, hey, I believe in you. I'm going to purchase a ring. We're going to finance it, and you're going to teach wrestling. And, we're going to build our own community of wrestling out here, because there's nothing around for like, aside from West Coast runs in Hemet, we run in Murrieta. It's like 30 minutes from each other. So, and aside from that, I'm doing Wrestle Warzone. I'm the booker. And our show is February 4th, All's Fair in Love and War Zone. I know, it's a pun. I was like, hopefully this doesn't look terrible, but yeah, so those are the 2 projects that I'm working on. We've got February 4th, February 11th, and then we're doing March 10th and March 11th. So already 4 shows in the first 2 months of 2020. So first 3 months, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I'll put everything down in the description down below. We'll put more information for those events where you can look those up. And definitely.
Thank you. Yeah.
And what's it been like, so especially now with the role you're doing with booking and also now managing wrestlers, and not wrestling as much. What has it been like for you to kind of switch roles and to take on something else?
Man, it's been humbling, really, because you realize how much better it feels to help people find who they are. Like I see people and I find their fit and I go, wow, like this guy would really fit here. Like, it's not just exhibition matches. There's stories. Like each match has a story, and I have a story to get across that it might not go for 5 shows. Some might go for 5 shows, but this one in particular, might only go that show, but the story is there. Whether it's, like one of the matches that I have on the show, I have this guy who, Wrestling Matt. He plays a character where he's very braggadocious. He thinks that he's the best wrestler in the world, and he's going to come out and issue an open challenge. Then after that, the next guy comes out and he's like, hey, you took my thing. And he's like a world published, a world traveled author. So he loves writing books. So he comes out and he's like, you want to make a challenge? I'm the one who makes open challenges because I'm the best, or whatever, like something about that. So they get into it. And then the ring announcer is my boss. He's going to be like, well, you two, you guys are getting into it. Who is it going to be your opponent? And then the music hits and out comes Muggsy Cruz, who's one of my best friends. And he's like 5'5". So they're going to start laughing, oh my God, look at this guy. He's 5'4", but he's a Marine and he's got a heart. He's got a big heart. So he's going to come out there and he's going to be like, I don't care if it's 2 of you or 50 of you, I'm not backing down. And now we've got the story of these 2 bullies against this young underdog who has like all the heart of the fight. So now just in this one match, now we've built him up as an underdog. So now he doesn't have to continue a feud with them. Now, whoever we put him against, he's going to be, oh, look, that's our Spike Dudley, So doing stuff like that and being able to see stuff in other people is just, it's so fulfilling. Like there's just nothing else like it. And managing too, like helping people to be seen. So many people can't cut a promo, like giving them confidence, seeing me like, oh, do you know what, Jarrell can do it? I'm going to start doing it. You know what, Jarrell, you don't need to cut promos for me. I'm going to cut my own promos, and that might be like, oh man, I lost a little bit of work or whatever, but it's more like, heck yeah, like I gave him the tools to survive on his own. Yeah. So like you can't pay for that. You can't put a price on teaching people like confidence or respect themselves or whatever,
Oh yeah, and watching you on the mic.
I'm gonna get a charger real quick before this thing dies. I'm gonna steal it from my son. Jude, you want to say hi to people on the podcast?
Hello.
Hey.
How's it going?
All right, let me grab this charger. Sorry, Jude. I'll bring it back, okay? The phone's gonna die.
Oh, wait.
Oh. There you go. Pull it off. 3, 2, 1, explode. All right, cool. So then, what were you saying, brother? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just don't want to die on you.
No, you're good. No worries. I just want to ask, we watch all the time, especially what you're doing with managing wrestlers. It's been really awesome to see you, speaking on the mic, because, you get, people to hate you and it's like people booing you. And it's been so much fun to watch that, watching the mic, and just performing out there. What advice would you give to someone that wants to kind of be a manager, manage wrestlers? What advice would you give to someone to do that?
Figure out who you are. That's just like the basis for me. Like, if you know who you are, then you don't even have to practice lines. I mean, you can sit in the back and think like bullet points, like, what am I going to say? And then kind of think it through. Okay, cool. You go out there and you just do it. Because if you know how your character would order a sandwich, if you know how your character would like order coffee at Starbucks, then, I mean, how easy is it to interact with people who are in your stable or like the crowd or whatever? Like, you should know what your character can do. If you know like the smallest intricacies of your character and your personality, then everything else is so easy. And so many people just don't know who they are, which is what they sit there and they do a promo and they've got no tonight like, and they're just like their phones like this and like their face is like, it's like, I don't know. It's all confidence. It's just learning to love yourself and not judge yourself. Because I mean, wrestling's such a cosmetic thing when we get so wrapped up on physical appearances, when really it's all about confidence. And if you don't believe in yourself, they won't believe in you. It doesn't matter if you're 6'5" and you're 300 pounds and you're ripped and you look like The Rock. if you have no confidence, they're not going to believe that you're any more valid. And if some 5'2" kid, comes in and knows who he is, he's going to blow you away. It's not all about it's not about the looks. It's the confidence that you bring to the character. I mean, you could be hideous. If you're confident and you play your character, people will love you. People will think you're hot. People will think you're sexy. People think a lot of things. Look at Pete Davidson.
Yeah.
Look at the women that he pulls, then you look at some really good looking men who don't have that same kind of confidence to pull that kind of girl or like a girl that holds themselves to that respect. I mean, obviously it's not about looks, but for a lot of people with the confidence, you want to stand next to someone who exemplifies what you're looking for, like gym memberships. You're not gonna buy your personal training pass from a guy that's 450 pounds and says he's gonna get you in shape. You're gonna buy it from the guy who's in shape. That's like, dude, I'm gonna make you look like me. Look at this, and then he smashes watermelon with his bicep. You're like, I want that. I want to be able to do that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Period. I'll just ramble forever.
No, man, I love it, man, and you're right, man. Confidence is the key, and that is something that you do very, very well. Because watching you every time in the ring and watching you do your promos, Mike skills is awesome to watch. And for someone that's watching this, and let's say they haven't seen you in the ring, what and they are going to see you, what can the fans expect to see Enoch when he's in the ring?
Oh man, I hit hard. All my strikes connect. I don't hit softly. Like that's what my boss said. I like to bring people around that don't know wrestling. He's like, all the matches before you, they didn't really hit each other a lot, or it was like a little sloppy, and that to me is the biggest confidence is all your stuff looked real. I don't care if we had a 5-star match. Did my stuff look real? Was the storyline real? Did those people believe? And if they did, great. We don't have to hit all our spots. And that's so freeing, because to the average wrestler, all they're doing is going, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? Oh crap, I forgot what's next. Oh crap. And that leaves no room for interpretation. What about if you go out there and that crowd is booing you and you're the face and you're like, no, I'm doubling down and I'm still going to do the stuff, because it's going to go wrong. Maybe you win them over. Maybe you do something cool enough that they turn back all the way around and come back to liking you again. That's possible, but it's not likely. The best case scenario is to go with the flow. So if you're out there, let's say Randy Orton is wrestling Jeff Hardy, and Jeff Hardy goes out there and they're booing him because now they like Randy Orton because he's got a mustache and they think he looks cool and they want him to do the RKO. Then now Jeff Hardy is going to do something to be heel, and Randy Orton's going to kind of be face. They're not going to just be like, nah, I'm Jeff Hardy, I'm just going to stay a good guy. No, maybe if it's TV, but on a house show, you're going to go with the flow. You're kind of go with the way that the crowd is cheering or booing, because that's what they want to see. And when you structure your things meticulously, that's like this, aka the Biagio Crescenzo, you end up with no freedom. And the best parts of wrestling is being free and being able to live in it. And for so many years, I didn't enjoy it because all I wanted was to get my spots right. And when I would watch it, my spots weren't clean enough. They weren't, it didn't look that good. It wasn't as good. And I couldn't watch it because beyond that, there was nothing. There was no story. There's no substance. There's just moves. So if you don't get the moves right, then, then the whole thing sucks. But if you have the story, then look at John Cena. John Cena, his offense does not look good. John Cena has 7 moves, 8 moves, but John Cena gets you to give a crap so much that he outperforms every single match on the show because the fans are invested. Look at Roman now. Roman, if you look at the star ratings of every single one of his matches, it's 4 to 5 the past 2 years. And his matches are meticulous. They're slow, but they all have stories. It's just, man, it's indies, but we need stories. We need investments. It's why we fell in love with it, not because of the moves. I promise you. Stone Cold Steve Austin was not out there having 5-star classics with Vince McMahon.
True.
Okay. He's
true, like
beating his ass. And if people did that now, they'd be like, where are the other moves? You have 2 moves, like
No, man, I love it, man. Well said, man. Everything you're saying is true, man, and I love it. And dude, and again, dude, thank you so much for being on, man. It's such an honor to have you on the pod, and had so much fun. And before we wrap up, do you have anything you like to plug in? Any bookings or any social media where the fans can find you?
You can find me at Instagram, Enoch _the _enlightened. You can check out Valley Wrestling Connection on Instagram or Facebook, Wrestle Warzone on Instagram, Facebook. Check out my band, my reggae band, Bag of Bones Cali on Instagram. And then check out Pandemonium. That's another company that I'm a writer with them, and I help backstage. They've got a great product. John Morrison is our champion. We're bringing in all kinds of names. I've heard some big names thrown around. I'm not gonna spoil it, but keep your eyes peeled. Because Kid Bandit has all the connections in the world. And then also House of Warriors Wrestling. That's another one that I help a lot with Ruben. Ruben's one of my oldest friends, almost 20 years now. So they've got a great product. I mean, they're consistently starting to put on more shows, and there's someone you should check out. House of Warriors Wrestling on Instagram. Check out Pride Style Wrestling in Vegas. They're awesome. Or One Ring Circus. There's so many, man. So many good wrestling promotions, just support wrestling, support indie wrestling, support Championship Podcast on the Line, Championship backwards, Championship on the Line podcast. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, see concussions, man. It's the creative dyslexia. I'm just like, there's no way that word is there. It's no. I mean, the coolest thing now is sometimes I think the other day I had quesadillas in my hand, and and I was going inside the house, and my girl handed me my wallet, and I grabbed my wallet, and I was like, man, these quesadillas are super hard, because for some reason my brain transferred that the quesadillas in my left hand were actually the wallet in my right hand. That's what my concussions are doing to me. That's telepathic. That's telekinesis.
Oh man, it's crazy. But again, Enoch, thank you again so much for being on. And again, we'll put everything down in the description, or you can find all social media. We'll put in the description down below where you can follow him. And again, thank you so much again. And also for the listeners and watchers, thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll see you guys next time here at Championship Online Podcast. See you guys next time.
Online Podcast. Catch you guys later. All right.